Alright, let's start with some commentary on the full practice one, because there was some stuff I wanted to point out. I haven't watched the other two that you sent yet. Figure let's just do that on the spot. Get some initial reactions here. So I have the desktop audio feed turned off, so hopefully it'll pick up well enough in the microphone today. But here we go.
Okay, so here we go with today's practice session.
Okay, so right away, almost right away, one of those notes wasn't, almost like it wasn't picked as the same way the other ones were. See if you can hear that. I'll point it out as soon as I hear it. That right there. So number 3. Let's do it again. So the third repetition of the 12, 13, 15. In fact, now I'm wondering if you even picked it. I think you may have missed. So something like this, like, well, let's not beat around the bush. You need to be able to recognize when things like that happen. So it's very important when to catch that stuff. I keep seeing the cat. I think she's about to jump on me. Yep, here we go. When you see, you have to be able to catch things like that, because you need to correct those things right away. Because, you know, these early stages in the speeds, like the 60, 65, 70, stuff like that, you know, making things sound 100% perfect as you possibly can, that's going to be carried over into those speeds where you can't consciously think about every little thing. This speed, I do believe you are able to consciously think about every little thing. So if you didn't catch it, then you didn't catch it, but you know, we need to get you able to catch things like that. So all these tiny little things are very important. So when it comes to being able to, you know, effortlessly play the things that you have been struggling with, being as nitpicky as possible on this early stuff is actually, I feel, pretty important. So let's keep watching. Okay, so I think that was a pretty obvious whoops right there. Let me rewind that a little bit. But right there, so you had the accidental pinch harmonic, which meant that the second note you hammered, or the first note you hammered onto, basically the 12, didn't come out so well. And then you increase the speed right there. So that's a concern, because again, if you didn't notice, then okay, we just need to get you more aware of doing things like that. If you did notice and still decided to go up 5 beats a minute, that's a problem. If you did it just to conserve time because I'm watching it, well, you know, you don't have to do that. In fact, I prefer it if you didn't, because, you know, I want to see things like this. I want to see as real of a practice session as possible. Even if it's very tempting to go on to the next beat anyway, and sometimes I'm tempted by stuff like that, you know, I got to still stop myself. Like, look, I made a mistake. It wasn't 100% perfect. I know I can do it better, so I got to do it again. So these are the kind of, that's the kind of standard you have to set for yourself in order to reach those playing goals that you really want. So let's continue on. That was a good one. While I'm thinking about it, just remember, I believe the equivalent of like notes per second, at 240 beats per minute with eighth notes is the same as 160 with triplets. You get the same amount of notes in a second or a full minute, whatever. That being said, we really should have you go away from the triplet thing right now and wait until you can play something like this with eighth notes instead at 240 beats per minute. Because if you can't do it at 240 beats per minute, we shouldn't have you be working on the triplets. Why are you licking me? Oh. The hell was I gonna say? Yeah, so one reason I think going up eighth notes is better at this moment, now that I'm thinking more about it. When you increase 5 beats a minute, when you're playing the eighth notes, 2 notes a beat, you're increasing the amount of notes being played at a slower rate versus doing triplets. So when you're doing the triplets, obviously you got 3 notes per click. So when you increase by 5 beats a minute, the amount of notes being played in the same time span is actually increased. So I think it's going to be better if we back off a little bit. And sometimes, that is necessary. Sometimes we have to back off on something in order to move forward. Okay. Keep going here. And I'll demonstrate what it would sound like with the eighth notes. If for some reason I don't do it at the end of this video, just let me know, I'll do it. So let's go back a little bit here. I think there was something else I wanted to point out. Okay, so there, you rushed it again, just a little bit, when you were starting to make that transfer. I think like your pinky went down a little bit too soon. Most people would not notice that. Most people would have no clue that it was rushed. But when you if you were to record it along with something else, that was going 100% perfect, you could tell. So let's go back and see if you can hear that. Could you hear it? If not, keep going back and listen to that part. Because there's a noticeable difference. I can hear there's like a gap, a much bigger gap going from that last hammered on 15 when you go down to the 10th fret. So the space between the notes there are greater. It's a greater space than the other notes you played. Everything else, the first 7 repetitions sounded really good. It's that 8th one, it's rushed just enough so I could tell, okay, the timing got a bit off there. Again, I'm being very nitpicky here, but it's what we got to do. All right, continuing on. Rest of that sounded really good. Okay. So you didn't rush on that one. That's good. So what I heard there initially was you didn't stick the landing quite well enough. And it sounds like one of the last notes wasn't quite there either. Let's rewind and listen to that take again. Do you hear how that last note sounded kind of clunky. Let's listen to it again, see if you can hear it. So right when you transfer down to the 10, that note, when you first transfer to 10, that's clunky. Okay, so as when you hammered on the final repetition of going 10, 12, 13, that hammered on to the 12, that was not as good as you're able to do it. So let's listen to that and make sure you hear what I'm pointing out. So again, don't be nitpicky, but these are the things we gotta get you more aware of, and get you to correct these things more. If that means you're stuck at a slower speed for a bit, but you're playing it really damn accurate after a while, that's a very good thing. Accuracy is always the first thing we gotta get before we start going up in speed. So gotta get, I think that's going to be the biggest goal right now, is getting you more aware of when mistakes happen and getting you more disciplined and diligent in correcting them. It's just that last note, the pinky hammer on, it wasn't as good as the others. That one was fine.
To 90 beats per minute now.
That was a good one. Sounded like it was a little weird at the end there, but hang on. Like it wasn't the last two repetitions just didn't sound as solid as the rest. That's the only thing that kind of stood out to me on that one. If I was like watching you practice, and maybe we should do this too. I've had students just do a practice session in front of me, and usually when they just don't practice, but I know you practice, so it's a little bit different here. But yeah, if I heard you do that in real time, I would have said, let's do that one over again and see if you can get it more solid. Well, let's rewind a little bit and see if you can hear what I'm talking about. It's the last two repetitions that just sounded not as solid. And like if we were doing a recording, song, album recording, whatever, I'd be like, yeah, let's try that, another take of that, and see if you can get it more solid there, so we have more stuff to work with. Let's see. I guess there's one.
Little ball there.
Oh, I must have clicked on the wrong one. What the hell was that? Yeah, that's what I meant. That's the one. They're just like, it's kind of there, but you're capable of better.
Little ball there.
Good catch. You definitely caught that. That's good. This is not beer. That was a good take. Okay, I'm glad you redid that one. That's a good call. Pretty decent on that one. You rushed it just a hair at the end there, though. So that one could have been just a hair more solid. Again, I'm just being real nitpicky here. For the most part, it was pretty much there. It was just one repetition that sounded like your ring finger didn't hammer on as well as the other repetitions.
120 now.
Good call. Good call. That last repetition was definitely rushed. Too fast. Yeah, I mean, I think that was the 125, and that's where, I mean, it was, like I said, it was decent enough, but if I that's why I tell people, practice like you're recording, and ask yourself, was that good enough for a recording take? If you feel like, yeah, that's probably good enough, at least probably good enough. Because I know how I am when I record. I record tons of takes for the same thing. I basically hate like everything I do in the recording room. But if it felt like it was solid, then that's kind of what you're going for. If you have any doubt if it was solid, then you really shouldn't go any further. So, let me do this now. I don't have the guitar out yet. Didn't think I was going to use it. I need to do my own practice after this. Okay, so I suggested doing the volume stuff at the 110. Still not a bad idea, but we want to get you doing the eighth note version instead. So let's just do a quick demonstration of that. Do a few different speeds here. So the same amount of repetitions, 8 each position. So there was 60. Kind of like counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in my head as I was going along there. But let's do 100 next. $140. 200. $220. It does get a little weird to get the rhythm right at that point, but hey, if you're able to do it at this speed and whatnot, it's gonna make you a much better rhythm guy. 240, the goal speed with the eighth note version of this. Now, let's do it at 160 at the triplets. Feels pretty much the same speed wise. So yeah, that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Go to eighth notes instead. Go ahead and do another practice or video recording of it, and just keep this coaching process going. Okay, so that's all the commentary I felt was needed for this first one, because after this it's just not good enough. So let's move on to the two new ones.
Okay, so here we go with today's practice of exercise 2. After doing some volume work yesterday.
Okay, so alright, go ahead, you stopped. That was a bum note. Remember, if you knew that that was a bum note, the one I pointed out when you went to do the 13th fret there, I think that's what it was. If you catch that, you hear that it isn't sounding 100% correct, you gotta stop immediately, start again. Every time, I can only assume that you did know there was a goof there and you kept going. So if you did know that there was a bum note and you continued on, you're only doing yourself a disservice, because you're basically telling your hands it's okay that the mistake was made. Now let's just keep going. You have to let your hands know every single time a mistake is made that, you got to correct it immediately. So another option is, instead of just starting the whole exercise over again, play that part where the mistake was made again. So you could have done this. So you had the note like, oops, that wasn't good enough. So then you do that. And then just do that a few times. And then run through the whole thing again. So you could troubleshoot, problem solve some stuff as it happens. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, sometimes that could be a very good thing. And I'll do that if I keep noticing I'm making the same mistake in the same area of something. Or I'll just single that part out and drill that for a little bit, maybe 3 to 5 times, and then run through the whole thing again, and usually that can fix it. Good call. But that G string doesn't sound muted to me. Yeah, I think your hand is too far behind the bridge. It needs to be scooted over towards the neck more. and string come out there. Did you hear that? Oh, phone call. Alright. Well, let me continue this. Make a two-part video here. I'll continue this in a moment.